This is a story about being neighbourly. Laura felt like a very nosy neighbour as she drew the curtain slightly to her side. Someone's moving in, a new neighbour in the bungalow. It was a naturally friendly road. An overgrown orchard had been uprooted to make way for a small cluster of semis. The corner plot was made into a little row of bungalows for older people, a little cul-de-sac. With everyone moving in at the same time, we were all on Christian name terms straight away. And they all needed new friends. We're all in the same boat, so to speak. Quite quickly. She was surprised to see the new occupiers sprinting over the unmade muddy footpath. About 60-ish, Laura guessed, but very sprightly with it. I wonder if she will be babysit. Not just now. Maybe I'm a bit previous. She watched the removal man bring the back tailboard up before climbing into the vehicle. She was thinking how lonely and lost the old lady must be feeling now. She all alone in an empty bungalow. So Laura caught her jacket off the stair bottom and was tapping on the half-open door before the van had even pulled out the cul-de-sac. Hi there, just wondered if you would want to come for a cuppa? I've just made one. Hello? Hello? Her clear young call echoed into the empty hall. The new neighbour opened the sitting room door slightly ajar, with a look of irritation. I'm sorry, do I know you? I've been very busy at the moment, I'm afraid. What can I do for you? Laura was slightly taken aback by this cold response, but repeated her offer. I have my own tea, thank you, was the reply, as she pushed back the escaping strands of hair from a chiffon scarf round her head. Laura didn't give up as easily as that. Can I help you? You must have lots of unpacking to do. Thank you, but I prefer to do my own unpacking. And the workmen are very efficient. They put everything into the right places. Thank you very much. My name is Laura. I live next door, just across the corner, she indicated vaguely, with a wave of her slim hand. If you don't mind, I must close the door. The wind is rather cold and I must carry on. And I won't be calling you Laura. I'm Mrs. Williams, and I do not wish to be called anything else. Thank you. Thank you for your kind offer. Goodbye. And the door was slowly but purposefully closed. Laura was being dismissed. There was no doubt about that. Mrs. Williams proved to be very polite. She was always very non-committal in her replies, but greeted very, very nicely. She was careful to keep everyone at arm's length, or at the garden gate if she possibly could. On the whole, very pleasant, but not unduly friendly. She insisted on calling Laura Mrs. Barker and her jovial husband Mr. Barker. Bill Barker was not accustomed to being rebuffed. His natural charm usually got him everywhere. He constantly tried to chip away her armour. It's getting wintry, isn't it, Mrs. Williams? Has your bungalow got loft insulation? I've just done ours, and it's much warmer. It makes a tremendous difference. No, I don't think it has. The window area in the sitting room is very cold, and the cushions feel excellently, ever so cold, she faltered, not quite knowing how to deal with such a boisterous young man. I'll do it for you if you like. It won't cost you much. It'll be very reasonable. You'll only need 3 rolls of fiberglass. Done a couple of hours or so. I would pay you, of course, she said quickly. Well, I wouldn't do it for you if you did. I'm not an odd job man, just a friendly chap from across the road. And he pushed the gate open and started up to the kitchen door. Shall I come in then and have a look? Quite taken by surprise, she stepped aside for him to enter our very private domain. Laura was astonished when Bill announced that he was doing the loft for the prim old lady next door. Do you know, Laura, in the few minutes I was there, she banged 3 times on the window with the kids going past. Every time one passed, and they didn't half scarp her. I must warn Henry not to play in the cul-de-sac, Laura grimaced. He returned much sooner than expected from doing the loft. You haven't been long, Bill. No, she couldn't wait to get me out the house, pushing money at me all the time. Poor little thing, I'm sorry for her. Husband only died 2 months ago. Laura said kindly, "Oh, Henry, don't play around Mrs. Williams's, will you? There's a good boy," as Henry ran through the living room. "No fear, Mum. The old lady in the bungalow's a witch. She bangs on the window every time with a broomstick." "Don't be silly, Henry. It's a walking stick." Mrs. Williamson remained aloof, and Laura kept trying to be a good neighbour with no avail. There was no progress from polite conversation. Mrs. Williams was not around for a day or two after a while, so she sent Henry to see if he wanted any shopping, just for an excuse to see where she was. But he said that she was still at home because she banged on the window. So Laura was hanging out the washing on a cold, bright day when she saw an ambulance just about to leave the cul-de-sac. She raced down the steep slopes between the houses and just managed to attract the driver's attention. "Is that Mrs. Williams in there? What's the matter? Can you tell me? You can contact the cottage hospital, but I'm not allowed to tell you anything. Sorry." Laura left a note for Henry and rattled off to the hospital on a rusty old bike. She saw the ashen, tiny face so quietly lying in the corner bed. A word with her sister revealed Mrs. Williams had fallen off a chair while trying to put in a light bulb, and she'd lain there 2 days in the sitting room, unable to contact anyone. She managed to reach her stick and in very great pain crawled towards the window. Oh,